On November 16, 2023, Caitlin Armstrong, 34, was sentenced to 90 years in prison for the first-degree murder of professional cyclist Moriah Wilson. The crime, committed on May 11, 2022, in Austin, Texas, stemmed from a tangled web of jealousy, love, and betrayal, centered around Armstrong's boyfriend, Colin Strickland. But beneath the surface of this love triangle was a far darker obsession. Caitlin Armstrong sat in the shared apartment she called home with Colin Strickland, her eyes glued to his phone screen. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through messages between Colin and Moriah Wilson, a professional cyclist, a woman Caitlin had never met, but whose name haunted her. Colin and Caitlin had just parted ways, but the sting of their breakup paled in comparison to the betrayal she felt learning Colin had spent time with Moriah. Who is she? Why is she in his life? Caitlin wondered, her grip tightening on the phone. She felt her territory, her love, her financial role, her future with Colin, slipping away. Caitlin wasn't one to surrender easily. As the financial manager for Colin's business, she had woven her life tightly around his, both emotionally and professionally. When they reconciled in November 2021, Caitlin thought things would return to normal. But Moriah's name lingered in texts, in Colin's casual stories. Each mention sparked a surge of jealousy, a smoldering flame in Caitlin's chest. She began checking Colin's phone nightly, demanding he change Moriah's contact name to something innocuous to avoid her wrath. But it wasn't enough. Moriah remained, a thorn in Caitlin's mind, a threat she couldn't ignore. In Caitlin's mind, everything began to shift. She grew withdrawn, fixated on monitoring Colin. Every text, every call was dissected with precision. As psychologist David Buss notes, jealousy can transform an ordinary person into an obsessive one, and Caitlin was spiraling into that vortex. She was no longer the confident woman managing Colin's finances. She was consumed by the fear of loss. Her motive at this stage was to protect her relationship with Colin, to safeguard her place in his life. Moriah, though a distant figure, had become a direct threat to Caitlin's territory. Caitlin learned Moriah would be in Austin for a cycling race. Her heart clenched when she heard Colin mention Moriah casually, as if she were no big deal. Caitlin moved from insecurity to action. She started tracking Colin and Moriah, especially when she learned they'd meet on May 11, 2022. Per the FBI, organized criminals like Caitlin spend time studying their targets to ensure precision. Caitlin wasn't impulsive. She was calculated. She knew Moriah was staying at Caitlin Cash's house on Maple Avenue, a secluded spot, easy to approach. She carried the 9mm pistol Colin had bought her for self-defense, not because she planned to use it immediately, but as a precaution. Her mind was consumed by anger and a need to reclaim control. Evening of May 11, 2022. Caitlin sat in her Jeep, parked a few streets from the Maple Avenue house. She had followed Colin and Moriah from Poolburger, where they sipped drinks and chatted like old friends. Every smile from Moriah, every fleeting touch between them, felt like a dagger in Caitlin's heart. She turned off her phone to avoid being tracked, a calculated move to cover her tracks. When Colin left, leaving Moriah alone, Caitlin sensed her moment. She drove into the alley behind the house, her pulse racing but her mind clear. She entered the house, gun in hand, and faced Moriah in the bathroom. Caitlin Armstrong needed no elaborate ruse to ensnare Moriah Wilson. She had already mapped her prey's movements with chilling precision. She knew Moriah would be alone at Caitlin Cash's house on Maple Avenue. As she stepped into the house, the 9mm pistol gripped tightly in her hand. Caitlin's heart thundered, yet her resolve was unshakable. The confined space of the bathroom became her stage, Moriah her unwitting target. Without hesitation, she fired multiple shots, the bullets tearing through Moriah's skull with lethal precision, silencing her instantly. The piercing screams that escaped Moriah's lips, captured by a neighbor's doorbell camera, reverberated in the night, but failed to deter Caitlin. She stood resolute, her actions deliberate and merciless, ensuring no witnesses could unravel her plan. According to David Buss, such acts of violence in the grip of jealousy are often a desperate bid to punish or eradicate a perceived rival, and Caitlin was consumed by this primal urge. In her mind, Moriah's death was not just an act of vengeance, but a necessary sacrifice to reclaim her hold on Colin, to restore the life she believed was hers alone. Caitlin slipped away from the blood-streaked scene, her pulse racing, but her mind already shifting to self-preservation. In a calculated move, she dumped Mariah's $14,000 racing bike in the dense woods nearby, a deliberate misdirection to steer police toward a robbery narrative. She knew the bike's value would draw attention, a red herring to mask her true intent. Yet, as she drove her black Jeep through Austin's quiet streets, the weight of her actions began to seep into her consciousness. The act, which she had imagined would bring relief, a purging of the threat Mariah posed, left her hollow instead. Fear crept in, a gnawing dread that the law would soon close in. Every distant siren sent a jolt through her, unraveling the facade of composure she struggled to maintain. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel, her mind replaying the echo of Mariah's screams, not out of remorse, but from the terror of being caught. Caitlin had crossed an irrevocable line, and now her survival depended on outwitting those who would seek her justice. Though Caitlin didn't keep a memento for Mariah, she deliberately abandoned the bike to mislead the police, a tactic aligned with organized criminals. This act was both an attempt to cover her tracks and a reflection of the panic seeping into her psyche post-murder. She knew she'd crossed a line, and now everything hinged on whether she could evade suspicion. When police summoned Caitlin for questioning over an unrelated warrant, she felt the world collapsing. In the interrogation room, she was tense, dodging questions, demanding a lawyer. Released due to a technical error in the warrant, Caitlin didn't hesitate. She knew her time was running out. She grabbed her sister's fraudulent passport, booked a one-way ticket to Costa Rica, and vanished. There, she worked as a yoga instructor, underwent plastic surgery to alter her appearance, but the fear of capture never left her. Caitlin descended into panic and anxiety, as Norris describes. She was acutely aware of her actions' consequences and would do anything to avoid punishment. Her flight, identity change, and life under a new guise revealed both calculation and desperation. She tried to build a new life in Costa Rica, but each day was shadowed by the dread of discovery. When she responded to a fake ad for a yoga instructor, she was arrested, ending her escape. Back in the US, Caitlin refused to give up. During a medical visit outside jail, she leapt through a window and fled, only to be caught moments later. At her trial in November 2023, she sat silently, listening to the evidence against her: surveillance footage, bullet casings matching her gun, Colin's testimony. She was sentenced to 90 years in prison, a price for an act fueled by jealousy and obsession. Caitlin never had the chance to return to normal life. Her psyche, once driven by jealousy and obsession, was now confined within prison walls. Her journey ended not in redemption or forgiveness, but in a lengthy sentence, a testament to the consequences of a mind consumed by possessiveness and violence. Caitlin Armstrong's story is a tragedy of jealousy and obsession. From a savvy woman managing her boyfriend's finances, she became an organized criminal, driven by a desperate need to protect her relationship with Colin Strickland. Her actions, stalking, murdering, fleeing, reveal a complex psyche, both calculated and emotionally overwhelmed. Her primary motive was to eliminate Mariah Wilson, whom she saw as a threat to her love and status. But in the end, Caitlin's actions destroyed everything she sought to preserve, leaving a haunting lesson about the devastating power of unchecked jealousy.